live session. Today we are going to discuss how the classification system it has undergone the changes over a period of time. Okay, so we will start with the Aristotle classification. Okay, so Aristotle was the pioneer, okay, for the classification, and he did the initial classification and the basis for the classification. If you want to know, and if you know, then the basis for the Aristotle classification is the morphological feature. Okay, so how does he divide the organism? So in his Aristotle classification division system, he divided the organism broadly into two kingdom. Okay, the first one is the plant, okay, and the animals. Okay, the plant includes the herbs, shrubs, and the trees. Okay, whereas the animals include with and without the blood. Okay, so what are the limitation of this classification? So the limitation of this classification is that, first of all, it is too simplistic. Okay, okay, so it does not take into account of all the organisms. Okay, this is very too simple to arrange the complex biodiversity. Okay, second, it does not account for, okay, for evolutionary relationship. Okay, so evolutionary relationship it did not take in account. Okay, and what about the microscopic organisms? So there is no arrangement for the microscopic organisms. Okay, so students, after the Aristotle classification, the Linnaeus, he proposed the two kingdom classification. Okay, so the two kingdom classification, student who proposed it, the two kingdom classification. Okay, so the two kingdom classification, it was proposed by the scientist named as Linnaeus. Okay, he is a very important person because he also gave the binomial nomenclature. Okay, so how he divide the organism into two kingdom? So he broadly classified two kingdoms, that is the kingdom Plantae, okay, and the kingdom Animalia. Okay, so the kingdom Plantae, it will include all the plants. Okay, students, you have to understand this. This is very important for us because it will cover all the biodiversity, right? So we should all, everyone should know about the classification. Okay, so Linnaeus, what is the basis for the his kingdom classification, two kingdom classification? So he took into consideration about the visible characteristics. So student, what are the visible characteristics? Visible characteristics are the ones that are visible, okay, with your eyes. Okay, and in addition to that, he also take consideration of structure and the mode of nutrition. Okay, so what are the advantage of this two kingdom classification? Okay, so this classification, it introduced the binomial nomenclature. Okay, so it means that the name, it will have the scientific name, it's in the Latin language. Okay, so student, do you know why the scientific names are in the Latin language? Because this is very important. Okay, the Latin language, okay, is a dead language. Okay, so if anything is a dead, okay, then there are no chances of further changes. So that's why the classification is basically in the dead language, so that there will be no further changes. Okay, and it will be same around the globe or around the world. Okay, so the advantage of the two kingdom classification is that it will introduce the binomial nomenclature. Okay, and this make the naming more scientific, okay, and standardized. Okay, but again, this classification system, two kingdom, has certain drawbacks. Okay, so what are the drawbacks? It still do not account for the microscopic organisms. Okay, so it is very difficult to place. Okay, where since it has two kingdom only the kingdom Planta and the Animalia, so where will the microorganism will go? Okay, so this is the limitation. Okay, and then there is a complex species that is known as the fungi. So that will, it is very difficult to place, okay, fungi, because it will exhibit both the characteristics of the plant as well as the animal. So it was very difficult to place the fungi. Okay, and moreover it does not also take into the consideration about the evolutionary relationship. Okay, students, so due to these like limitations, okay, then the third kingdom classification, okay, has been developed. Okay, so this is the three kingdom classification. So who proposed it? It was proposed by the Ernst Haeckel. Okay, so student, you have to remember that who proposed this, because this is very significant contribution. Okay, so what, like, we know so far we have two kingdom, that is first is the kingdom Plantae and the second is the Animalia. Now they introduce the third kingdom. Okay, that is the kingdom Protista. Okay, so student, now we have three kingdoms: the kingdom Plantae, kingdom Animalia, and the kingdom Protista. Okay, so this kingdom Protista will now include what? It will include the microorganisms. Okay, so the main benefit of this classification is the advantage is the inclusion of the unicellular organisms. Okay, so this unicellular organism, they have been, like, in the backseat till now, but now after the three kingdom classification they also get classified. Okay, however, limitation is there is still lots of complexity. Okay, okay, till now the fungi, okay, that exhibit both the plant and the animal characteristic, it still not have any had been classified. Okay, so later on there is the five kingdom classification. Okay, now this kingdom classification is proposed by the R.H. Whitaker. Okay, so five kingdom needs to have five kingdom, right? So what are the kingdom? So the first is the Plantae. Okay, then we have the Animalia. The third kingdom system introduced the Protista. Okay, then we have the separate class for the fungi. Okay, fungi kingdom, and then we have the Monera. Okay, so what is the basis for the five kingdom classification, students? So we all know that for this classification, the R.H. Whitaker has taken into consideration about the cell structure. Okay, the mode of nutrition. Okay, the body organization, and the reproduction. Okay, so the advantage here, I told you, the advantage is that it recognizes the fungi as a separate kingdom. Okay, and it distinguish the prokaryote, okay, from the eukaryote. So it's a big achievement that it distinguish prokaryotes and eukaryotes. Okay, so this is the student example of how the classification system has evolved over the time. Okay, thank you for watching the video.